Welcome to the Motor City, where the engines of basketball roared to life, and the Detroit Pistons didn't just play hard, they punished the competition. You know, those guys who showed up ready to dunk might have been thinking, Pistons? What's that? Well, they learned pretty quickly when the bad boys came through with elbows flying and defense that made you question your life choices. Prepare yourself as we explore the history of one of the NBA's more challenging teams. Get your basketballs, or perhaps a helmet, as discussing the Pistons means being ready for an intense history overview. Early years in the move to Detroit. The story of the Detroit Pistons begins not in Detroit, but in Fort Wayne, Indiana. The franchise was founded in 1941 as the Fort Wayne Pistons, a member of the Basketball Association of America, which would later become the NBA. The Pistons were part of a league that was still growing, and their early years were filled with struggles to establish themselves. When the BAA became the NBA in 1949, the Pistons had financial struggles. In 1957, the team moved from Fort Wayne to Detroit to access the bigger market and better sports opportunities in the Motor City. The struggles for relevance, 1957 to 1974. The Detroit Pistons moved to Detroit in 1957 marked the beginning of a new chapter, but this era was far from easy. While the Pistons had some notable players, such as the legendary star Bailey Howell, the team struggled to find consistent success on the court. The Pistons were trapped in mediocrity for much of the 1960s, with the team frequently finishing below .500. But there were sparks of brilliance. One of the biggest moments during this time was the drafting of the electric player, Dave Bing. In 1966, Bing would become the face of the Pistons for much of the 1960s, and his individual brilliance made him an all-star several times throughout his career. Still, the Pistons were caught in the whirlwind of their rivalry with teams like the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks. By 1974, the Pistons found themselves in a crossroads, seeking a fresh direction after years of disappointment. The era of slow rebuilds was about to give way to something more dynamic. The Bad Boys era, 1980s. The 1980s were important for the Pistons, starting what is known as the Bad Boys time. This time was marked by one word: toughness. The Pistons, led by coach Chuck Daly, made a team that would scare other teams with its tough play, solid defense, and rough style. The cornerstone of the Bad Boys was the duo of Isiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer. Thomas, a pint-sized point guard with a fierce competitive spirit, led the team both on and off the court. His leadership was crucial in making the Pistons contenders year after year. Alongside him was Laimbeer, who quickly became known for his bruising, controversial play style. Together, they were complemented by a cast of characters that included Joe DeMars, Vinnie Johnson, Rick Mahorn, and the mercurial Dennis Rodman. The Pistons reached the pinnacle in 1989 when they defeated the Los Angeles Lakers to win their first NBA championship. They did it again in 1990, cementing their place as one of the most formidable teams of the era. The post-Bad Boys era, 1990 to 2003. After their second championship in 1990, the Pistons began to transition into a new era. The team lost key players, including Isiah Thomas, and struggled to find success in the early 1990s. The team experienced several rebuilding years, marked by inconsistent performances and roster changes. However, in the late 1990s, the Pistons once again found hope with young talent like Grant Hill. Hill quickly became one of the league's best players, and he led Detroit back to the playoffs in 1996. Still, the team was never able to build around him in a way that resulted in sustained championship contention, and Hill's eventual departure in 2000 marked another turning point for the team. In 2003, the Pistons, led by coach Larry Brown, began to show signs of their old self, with players like Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, Richard Hamilton, and Tayshaun Prince forming the core of a new championship-caliber team. The Pistons returned to the top in 2004 when they shocked the basketball world by defeating the heavily favored Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals to win their third championship. Decline and rebuilding, 2004 to 2015. After their 2004 championship, the Detroit Pistons continued to be a strong playoff team, but they struggled to capture the same magic that led them to the title. While players like Billups, Wallace, and Hamilton were still solid, injuries, roster changes, and shifts in team dynamics hindered the Pistons' championship aspirations. By the mid-2010s, the team found itself in a rebuilding phase, marked by an unfortunate combination of poor draft decisions and a lack of standout talent. The Pistons' struggle to contend for a title in this era led to coaching changes and roster adjustments in an attempt to find a winning formula. Despite these challenges, the Pistons managed to stay competitive and remained a beloved franchise to the city of Detroit, even as other teams like the Cleveland Cavaliers and Chicago Bulls dominated the league. The modern day, 2015 to present. The last decade has been a journey of highs and lows for the Detroit Pistons. With the arrival of key players like Blake Griffin in 2018, the team showed promise, but injuries and inconsistency continued to haunt their playoff hopes. During this period, the Pistons made notable strides in building for the future with a mix of young talent, including players like Andre Drummond and Luke Kennard. The 2020s, however, represented a true new beginning for the Pistons as they began to focus heavily on their rebuild, prioritizing young talent through the draft, notably selecting Cade Cunningham in the 2021 NBA Draft as their centerpiece for the future. The organization and its fan base have put their hopes on this new generation to restore the Pistons to their former glory, even as they face competition from an increasingly stacked league. While the road to another championship may be long, the Pistons' unwavering resilience and proud history as one of the league's most respected franchises remain undiminished. Since their beginnings in Fort Wayne to the famous Bad Boys time, the Detroit Pistons have left a lasting impact on the NBA. The story of the Pistons is more than basketball. It mirrors the city of Detroit, hard, strong, and persistent. With their ups and downs, the Pistons continue to represent the city's character and deep love for the sport. Thank you for taking this journey through the incredible history of the Detroit Pistons. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on more iconic team histories from the world of sports.